It's Florida Daily TV, brought to you by FloridaDaily.com. For all your news on politics, business, and education, it's FloridaDaily.com. Now, here's your host, Ed Dean.
Welcome to another edition of Florida Daily TV, brought to you by FloridaDaily.com. I am your host, publisher, Ed Dean. I wanted to break things up. We're right now close to an election season, and I want to talk about some other issues outside of the polls, outside of maybe the COVID-19, might bring a little bit of that in here. Minimum wage we've been discussing with our guests, but I wanted to bring in Heather Smith, very popular radio and also, YouTube sensation. Can I say that? Because it's true. Facebook.com, hey. And also host on the Hunt Channel. And by the way, tell everybody else what else you do.
I'm the analyst on the Elite Fishing League, which is on Discovery Channel. I go on NBC's Texas Outdoors Lifestyle.
By the way, outdoor editor for Florida Fisherman Magazine.com, right?
Yeah, for Florida Fisherman Magazine. I'm the outdoor editor. I'm also going to be doing the bass circuit for 2021.
That's right. So she covers all the outdoor stuff. But I wanted to mix in a little politics in here and some stuff like that. Mm-hmm. When the shutdown was going through in the state of Florida, now again, your magazine, which also owns other magazines in Texas, Louisiana, but here in Florida, and you're here in Florida a lot, there was a lot of things. I mean, the people are just like, hey, we don't want to be shut down anymore. And it was a big thing about the fishing industry, and a lot of people were looking forward to hunting. The fishing licenses went through the roof. The hunting licenses went through the roof. The reason why I'm bringing up this issue today is because if Joe Biden wins, or let's say there's another somewhat spike among COVID, there's speculation. Are we going to have another shutdown? Talk to me what we've covered in Florida. I don't think those in the fishing industry, which is big in the state of Florida, and the hunting industry, the outdoor type, you've covered this. I don't think they're going to go along with this, are they?
No, absolutely not. I mean, as we saw before during the shutdown originally, I mean, it started off obviously March, April. That was when your big season kicked off here for Florida. When you're fishing, that was when it was really on fire. Even when your bass in Central Florida was on fire, they were not allowing charters and guides to go out. And now we saw.
And by the way, hold on, not to interrupt you, I didn't understand what the science was supposedly behind that. Was that groups?
Well, because they had saw a couple of things where people they weren't able to go to work. They were going out to those islands or whatever, and they were
right. The parties. That's right.
Making parties. So they thought they would go around it that way. Well, it was extremely difficult because then we saw a huge spike in commercial license. Remember, we went to Dade County last year. They had
Tell everybody the story about this. This is a great story.
Yeah, in Dade County last year for commercial license, they had 43 applications
for fishermen
for commercial fishing license. And as soon as they enacted the quarantine that said that you couldn't guide any longer, but you could go fishing if you were a commercial fisherman.
For the business, right?
So then we went from 43 last year to 347
in 1 month.
Yeah, in 1 month.
And they weren't fishing. No, they were going out, but they weren't doing the business.
2019 versus 2020, there's a 300 application spike just because it was the only loophole to get people out there fishing.
But this is what I find odd. Again, you as the outdoor editor of Florida Fisherman Magazine and a host on some of the sports networks like dealing with hunting and outdoor and fishing and everything else, you cover this, and this is what I find very interesting, was we had you had your deputy sheriff, deputy sheriff on the water.
Yeah.
You had Marine Patrol, Fish and Wildlife, and a lot of these guys are very cool. We know them, you know them. They're very laid back, but it was like, got a social distance. People are 50 feet apart in a boat? This is the reason we had these sandbars. But we didn't see the spikes like they were talking about with COVID cases on any of these outdoor activities, did we?
No, we didn't see anything like that. Now, we saw, I think there was one in particular down in Palm Beach. We saw the sheriff that went on record saying he was going to be checking people for their insurance. He was going to be checking to make sure that the boat was actually a commercial thing because he was nipping it in the bud because he wasn't happy with it. I think they exaggerated it. Obviously.
I think he had a lot of pressure from the city council, the county commission.
Clearly, it was the focus. But, we're going to see a lot of people rebel. I mean, if this happens again, we've already heard the guides. They lost so many cancellations. There's a lot of money with other people that were losing their jobs as well. This is sometimes a secondary income for them. It's a lot easier to give an ease of mind when you've got a freezer full of fish. You take that away from individuals right now that are already scared and desperate, and they're worried about providing for their family.
Has the industry, on a scale like 100%, how much of it has it come back? 60, 40, or not?
The fishing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The guides and the tournaments and everything else.
Oh well, tournaments have been put off. I'm a professional tournament angler, so I took a hit this year and wasn't able to tournament fish. But we took a look at right now. They're coming back. I mean, the fishing industry itself, as far as retail goes, you try to get rods. There's stuff. There's a blank. They have the highest sales.
How about the tourism? Is that making a comeback in Florida in other states, at least the fishing aspect?
Well, it is. I mean, people are starting to fish, but now you've got this scare again. They never know if the South's going to open. Is Key West open? Is Key West closed? You don't know. And right now, like I'm heading down here in a couple of days. I'll be down in Key West shooting.
Now, you made a good point. For example, here in the state of Florida, whether it's in the east coast of Florida, Sebastian Inlet, Mosquito Lagoon, Volusia, Brevard County, Naples area, big fans of Florida Daily, Jacksonville, but it's that South Florida again. It's that area where, again, you've got West Palm Beach, Miami and Dade, which is near where you're going to be at, still are on semi-shut and lockdowns out there.
Well,
so any word, what's going on? Or some of the guides and fishing groups are they ignoring it, or they're like, hey, we're not doing it in this county, we're going to do business somewhere else?
Well, people have had enough. And, let's realistically, when you look at the counties, look at the color. If it is predominantly blue, then you're going to see more scare and you're going to see more of a push to try to shut it down. If you're in a red county or it's a strong conservative stronghold, you're going to have a little bit more leniency when it comes to fishing. Right now, the fishing industry, even the hunting industry, people have had enough. It's and I brought it up earlier with you. It's not just the mask. Yes, people don't want to wear the mask, but the mask is just a precursor to the real issue. People are tired of this corona. People are tired of being restricted. The quarantine won't last, and people are going to rebel.
So I'm pulling up the phone here for those of you, because a lot of us are even on radio for the morning show and like we do on Florida Daily TV. I'm pulling up some of the other things right here. When I'm looking at some of the dates and what's been going on, how much we're talking about that, okay, there were shutdowns were occurring in March, and then we looked at what Governor DeSantis did. I'm looking around May. Did we see some of the fishing industry and the outdoor industry, when did they start opening back up?
I think it was right after they did that 30-day breach, and then you slowly did it. Then you guys flip-flopped. I mean, one weekend it was open, then you shut down again, and then you open back up again. And now talk is of you guys shutting down again, and they're even talking about it in Texas just because of what's going to happen with the election. They're pushing it, in my opinion, more to shut things down because it's more of a scare tactic for this election. And if they shut down, like I said before, the people, hunters and fishermen are not going to handle it. I'm looking
on the phone, looking at some of the news reports that we've done at FloridaDaily.com. South Florida Democrat Donna Shalala, we need to shut down again. Nikki Fried, which you cover, the Agriculture Commission, and the issue of guns. I want to get to that in a moment.
Yeah.
Again, we reopened too quickly. We didn't shut down quick enough. My question is, I hate to make this partisan, but if the Democrats were in charge, is it quite possible we would still be on a semi-lockdown?
I absolutely agree with that. I think if we had 100% liberal agenda right now, or Democrats were in charge, we wouldn't be fishing. We would be outside. Everybody would be huddled and hiding inside of their homes. And and I'm actually socially, I lean left socially on my social rights, but physically, I lean right and then left for social. So I am 100% on that. I believe that if the liberals were in control right now,
yes,
we wouldn't be able to do anything. And I don't think that's right. I think that it's really affecting us in a bad way.
All right, let's talk about the issue of guns. This is another fascinating issue. We have talked about this where everybody, you talk to all the pollsters out there in the race with a couple weeks left. It's either COVID, the economy, minimum wage in the state of Florida, whether or not you should have an open primary. There's a group that is a big pro-gun control group. It's heavily funded by the left, especially the Mike Bloomberg crowd.
Right.
Moms demand action, or every town gun safety.
Have you heard that commercial?
Yeah. And so they've talked about spending another $100,000 here in the state of Florida. And the reason why you've covered this as the outdoor editor here, I wonder, does this possibly, if everybody's fatigued with all these other issues, and this issue comes in, you sit back and go, I've already made up my mind on these issues, but I haven't made up my mind on some of the maybe local candidates. And this guy supports, maybe he or she supports guns in the schools as a backup for the safety, or he or she's not strong enough on gun control. Do you think this comes in, maybe becomes the deal breaker because all the other issues we know about, but you got this one over here going, this is an under the radar issue, but this might pertain to my vote. How do you think does it become an issue or not? Because evidently it's not on all these issues. It's like ranked number 8 out of all the other ones out there.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's a really good point to make. And I'm going to go back to this Nikki, who's the...
Nikki Fried, the AG, Agriculture Commissioner.
Agricultural Commissioner. During the Corona lockdown, she made it where that you weren't able to do your fingerprints, which left people from being able to get a concealed handgun license.
They're stuck in the middle. They're ready to go.
Right. And so what they did is a very underhanded thing, and she was preventing. And then the NRA ended up filing a lawsuit against her because after 90 days, you can't prevent people from getting a handgun. That's actually one of our constitutional rights, and she was impeding that.
The Florida Attorney General, Ashley Moody, she goes, hey, you can't. This is a law that's already in the books. If you want to do it, you got to change the law.
Correct.
Wasn't happening.
Correct. Okay, and even then, that takes even longer. So
right.
She was past her threshold of time, so no longer could she do that. Well, at that point, we had protests, we had riots, we have everything that's going on. Now, you take a look at now, and your question about if someone's going to what their rights are or what they
the gun issue.
Yeah. Well. No, I don't.
You don't think it's going to be an issue?
Well, the problem is a couple of years ago, yeah, but with all the protests and all the violence and everything going on right now, I think because there are so many Democrats that are actually huge advocates of the 2A, that would be the wrong issue to push.
To your point, let me go back to Nikki and then to the latest numbers out here in the polls on the issue of guns.
Yeah.
Is this was something where, again, she sat back and said, well, I don't want any of the cops to catch COVID. Well, wait a second. They weren't stop arresting people and fingerprinting people. No. They were talking about the fingerprinting and that those and that were doing it, that somehow they would end up getting maybe a case of COVID. Well, there was nothing preventing cops from doing the fingerprinting when it came to criminals as it was.
Right.
It was a lame excuse.
Yeah.
Now, we've covered this at FloridaDaily.com in our publication that Florida is one of the swing states. All the other swing states, gun sales are through the roof. Three big groups: senior citizens, women, of course, concealed weapon, but the largest group are those in the black community. Right. And the reason why I asked this question is because if right now numbers say, well, if the political violence is not in the state of Florida, it doesn't really resonate as an issue. Okay, fair enough. But when you got those in Florida, gun sales going through the roof, it's a possibility that it could become an issue. Maybe they're afraid if Biden wins, not to sound conspiratorial, that maybe the riots and protests may go ratchet up a little bit. Yeah. Because he hasn't really condemned it a whole lot. So that's what I'm getting at. So maybe that this is an issue where more people end up buying guns, and maybe it's going to sit back and go, you know what? I don't want any gun control. I'm worried about my protection.
Right. Everybody is always scared whenever there's a liberal in the office that you're going to lose your guns. I mean, it's always a run on it. You're always scared when those elections happen. But I think right now, more than anything, and I think the Democratic Party knows that if they started pushing, or any person that is left and he's running for office, or she, if you try to push against guns right now, that would be the worst thing you could do. And I think it would.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, that would be the worst issue to push. I think you would definitely tank and not be elected at all if you try to push against guns.
Let me ask you this. So on the issue of guns here real quick.
Yeah.
If gun sales have been going up, but there were large increases when Hillary Clinton was running in August of 2016.
And Obama, the ARs. Yeah.
Right. But having said that, or Joe Biden would be the AR-14.
Yeah.
But anyway, so here's the thing. So the COVID cases really spiked up the gun sales. The riots really ramped it up.
Yeah.
Does a Biden presidency, does it continue to ramp it up, or does it just continue as maybe, unless they get a hold of all the riots that have been taking place? What do you see these numbers going if he wins?
Okay, so realistically speaking, you're going to take a look at it. Realistically, we really need to be more concerned about what's going to happen with the Senate and the House when it comes to your gun control.
Right.
However, the majority of the population, let's say maybe 80% of the population, don't know that. They automatically assume it's when the president gets elected, their gun rights are going to get taken away. The 20% that know, I'd say higher than 20% know that, but everyone's going to do a run on it in the beginning. I think that there's going to be a scare if something happens like that, especially as strong as they're pushing against it.
I mean, you deal with these guys. You as an editor and on TV, you have conversations with what we call mainstream Americans out there. They just want to fish. They want to hunt.
They're already doing it.
And by the way, most of you, they're not here to present a political agenda. They just want to go out and make a buck and have a good time. But when this issue of guns and, again, lockdowns, I'm just telling you what we've covered here, and our stuff's pretty much factual at Florida. It all is factual.
Yeah.
People, the numbers, we had a big article out this week, they do not support another shutdown.
No, nobody supports another shutdown, and people are literally, right now, I know in Texas, I think we talked about this, my nanny is going to the store. Whenever she goes to the store, like Walmart, that's what we have in that small town, everybody buys ammo. I mean, ammo is becoming extremely scarce right now.
That's right.
And so people are stockpiling, and, they're stockpiling not just because they're not going to take another shutdown. They're fed up, and they're really prepared for what's going to happen with this election.
If there is, in the state of Florida, and as you travel throughout the country, if there is, they're talking about it, if they could, remember, South Florida's still on semi-shutdowns.
Yeah.
I'd have to assume the biggest protest will be from those in the outdoor community, fishermen, the hunting crowd, because, it sucks, if I can say that word, to be called non-essential.
Correct. Absolutely. In Texas, the governor has said that fishing is essential.
Right.
Louisiana, actually, I'm really proud of the governor of Louisiana. He took a good stand for his anglers.
He's a Democrat, but he did a good job. John Bel Edwards, exactly.
He did an amazing job. DeSantis, he did not give the guides the opportunity to get out there and do their business like they should have. Now he let the commercial, but then you guys saw an influx. Where there's a will, there's a way, and your guys.
And he
made
did
their
it.
way
I agree.
around.
And here's the thing. I think that everybody was scared. Nobody knew what the heck was going on. But again, the shutdowns, I never supported them. Having said that, it's just funny that the left comes out and says, oh, if you open up the beaches, you open up the charters, more people out there in the boats, that we're going to see major spikes of COVID. We did not. What we saw was a lot of Northerners coming down, but even Phil Murphy, the liberal Democrat governor of New Jersey, says, we've opened up the beaches. Remember, he shut down the churches, but we've opened because we don't see the cases. We did not see the cases of spikes happening from those in the outdoor community, fishing and/or on the beach.
No, I did an episode on the Hunt Channel, and I called it coastal distancing. I mean,
that's a good one.
You cannot get any further away from anyone than when you're just out there in the middle of the boat. You know, I mean, offshore. So there's not even an issue. I think I saw one guy on Facebook making a comment, and I think it was actually your Facebook, and it was we put up the thing about the beaches. How is Walmart okay? And how is being on a boat not, like out on the beaches?
That's a good point.
And the guy was like, well, because you get your food from Walmart. And of course, my response, remember I commented on there and I was like, where do you think the seafood from Walmart?
Yeah. Still, one of my liberal friends, he's a good guy. It's one of the funniest posts was the picture of the Grim Reaper on a surfboard on a wave in Florida when they reopened things. I just said that was humorous. So
yeah, but they don't realize that's where the food comes from. I mean, that's where you're getting your food sources. You're going directly to the source out there. And if you keep impeding on that, people have had enough.
Okay, you do it all. Go to go to Facebook.com. Look for what
Heather Smith Outdoors.
I mean, there's so much to promote for you.
Yeah. I'm on the
Florida Fisherman Magazine.
Florida Fisherman Magazine. You can go to Heather Smith Outdoors on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Look for the Elite Fishing League on Sunday mornings on Discovery Channel. Texas Outdoors TV, Texas Outdoor Lifestyle on NBC on Sundays at 10:30 a.m. And then on
I
the
thought
Hunt
I was
Channel,
busy. Holy man!
Yeah, and I'm on the Hunt Channel. And my show airs 6 times a week, including Friday night at 6:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m.
The fishing thing is phenomenal. Watching the bass fish and everything else. It's good time.
And I'm tournament angling. I have so much going on.
It's a good time. Heather Smith, man, at a young age, you're doing it all.
Yeah, I'm trying.
So we like it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, this has been another edition of Florida Daily TV, brought to you by FloridaDaily.com.